Obviously, tough playing game against the Heat. It wasn't for a second; it was for the whole first half. I thought it was going to be. We're going to be playing tonight against the winner of that Hawks and Bulls game, but we pulled it out. Thankfully, Nicholas Batum stepped up. That wasn't the third guy that we were talking about in our show. Who was going to be the third guy to step up? And Batum was the guy that was one of the guys we did not say. So, but now we face the hard-nosed Knicks. How much do you think playing in the Heat in that first game was kind of prepared us to go against the hard-nosed New York Knicks in round one?
I'm not sure if playing the Heat is prepare us for the Knicks. I think it prepared us for playoff basketball, and the stakes that comes with that. Because it was a win or move on, lose, and you only have one more chance to lose. So it was just preparing you for basketball. I think the Knicks is going to be different because they're not going to play very much zone like Miami did. I mean, they play a lot of man-to-man. They'll grind it out. So from that standpoint, it's probably similar in size for the most part. But it's still just more than anything, it just gives you that playoff feel.
Yeah, I think definitely they're both physical teams. They're both well-coached teams. They're both disciplined teams. They're number 5th and 9th in defensive efficiency, and they're both dead last in pacing on offense. So in that regard, as far as they just play generally a slower game, I think it helped us a little bit. I mean, they're not the same exact team and they don't have the same exact makeup, but they have similar identities, right? They slow it down on offense. They try to play physical brand of basketball on defense.
I just think from a standpoint of, when you look at their styles and both focus on defense, they're similar. But I just think that New York has a guard that's going to be more that's trying to give you 30 points. They don't really have that as far as guy driving that can get to the line.
Yeah,
they have guys that can stretch. They have 3-point shooters that can stretch the court. They have lockdown defenders, which Miami does have. But so I think that's what I'm saying. From a personnel standpoint, I don't think it's similar at all. I just think their size is very similar. It's very similar at the positions.
Yeah,
but they don't really have a center that's going to try to score 20 points. So
New York, you mean?
New York doesn't.
Yeah.
But Miami has an undersized center that tries to score. Just got in foul trouble. But so I just think they're not as similar as people may assume outside of like what you said, which is the defense, the pace. But I think in the playoffs, the defense, the pace is going to change for a lot of people.
I also think Miami, I think they're a little more possibly flexible in the way they play. Spo can kind of change it up if it's not working and just try to see what works, especially against a team like us. Whereas I think New York didn't play that much zone this year. So when push comes to shove, Spo will throw the kitchen sink at you. But, maybe Tibbs just relies more on his just disciplined philosophies.
Yeah, I mean, he just rather if he can make an adjustment, he'll make an adjustment in his man-to-man.
Yeah.
Not trap a guy, send him, trap him, force him baseline. You make an adjustment in your man-to-man.
Yeah, when to double. Yeah,
yes.
We're to double. Yeah.
This is one thing, talking about that game the other night, one thing that kind of stood out to a lot of people is the fact that, Nick Nurse isn't beholden to, keeping the same certain guys out on the court at certain times. Where if you're the guy who closed the games during the regular season, I mean, there's probably not a chance there may be a chance you're not going to do that since we have so many guys. And one of the things that stood out to that game, was Nick Nurse not having Tobias to close the game out on the court in the fourth quarter. Is that something that kind of gives us an advantage, Eric, that we have a coach who's not like beholden to certain lineups at certain times that he can kind of toggle with it?
I mean, I think there are certain guys on the team that, for the most part, you assume will be out on the court. and it's probably one or two guys that you know will be out there on the court. Then you probably have 3 through 5 that's most likely they'll be out there. Tobias is probably one of those most likely guys. And I guess the way the game was going, you can make that play, especially the way Batum was shooting the ball. And then Batum's size. So sometimes it really matters about who you're playing too, because sometimes if Tobias is our power forward and also really small if we're playing, Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful with that. We're playing Boston. So it kind of depends on it. You were able to do that because of who we were playing, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the personnel will come into play also in his decision making. So I don't think it was necessarily just a Tobias thing. I think it was the way other guys were playing and the personnel as far as who you're defending.
Yeah, I do like that he can remain flexible though, if we need it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most coaches are flexible, more flexible than we give them credit for. It's just that when we just seem to only talk about it when it doesn't work out, but when it do work out, we just act like it didn't exist or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's Nick Nurse. It works out, so we give him credit. Doc, we just talk about all the times it didn't work out instead of all the times that it did.
Yeah,
it's true. It's a good point.
You made it a Doc versus Nick Nurse thing. I didn't.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't have to say Doc versus Nick. It's said enough. I'm just saying, like, if Doc Rivers made that right there, it wouldn't have been discussed unless we lost.
And it didn't work out in our favor. Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
I feel like that's a coach thing in general, though. They kind of get more press when it doesn't work out.
To be honest with you, I didn't even during the Florida game, I didn't even notice Tobias isn't in. It was just let's try to win the game.
Yeah, same here actually. I really didn't. Yeah, it didn't really hit me till I was like, you know what? I haven't seen Tobias in a while.
Yeah, I didn't even really notice it till the end when I seen him in the timeout and he wasn't out there. That's when I noticed it.
I gotta say though, isn't that a bad thing though?
Bad thing for who?
If you don't know guys there or not, if we know if Embiid wasn't there, we know if Maxey wasn't there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But I don't. That's why I'm saying I don't because I consider him as the guy that's
fringe
most likely be in.
Yeah.
Now, if it was Joel and Maxey, I would be like, dude, why aren't you putting them back in the game?
Yeah. They'd be showing them on the sidelines every 5 seconds.
Them are the only two guys I would say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I would say put Tobias back in the game if whomever is replacing him
not playing.
I don't think they're getting the job done.
Yeah.
But if they're getting the job done, I'm not going to say, hey, take him out because Tobias is a starter, put him back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did with the end of the game lineup was Lowry, Maxey, Batum, Oubre, and Embiid.
Yep, I believe so.
It's not bad 5 there. A lot of offense and defense.
Yeah, I mean he really trusts Kyle. So I mean,
yeah,
if Kyle wasn't there, most likely that would have been Tobias or somebody else. But Kyle's sort of the wild card because of his trust. So he's going to play him even probably times when we think he shouldn't.
Yeah. Kyle played his ass off in that game too, man.
I mean, he gives us something. He's gonna play hard. I'm just saying from that standpoint, for most guys that are new that just came there, you kind of wouldn't play him that much. But him having a relationship with him, the trust factor is there.
Yeah,
it's just interesting to me. What would we be doing if Melton was playing? I don't know. Yeah, be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Healthy Melton, or just the way it's okay. Because right now it's great. He's easily to come off the bench the way he is.
Healthy.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
He was getting shots up today, so there's promising that he may come back.
I mean, he's playing. To me, he's playing Kyle way more than Buddy Hield, Buddy, that's shocking to me.
Yeah.
it's not shocking that he plays more, but it's shocking that it's not close.
Yeah.
When we were resting Kyle Hill down the stretch, I was like, man, he's going to get major minutes in the playoffs. That's when I was like, dude, he's going to play like crazy now. Yeah. They're going to like unleash him in the playoffs. It was almost like him just getting conditioned for the playoffs toward the end of the season.
Ramping up.
Yeah, seriously though. I mean, like that's what it told me. And I knew he was going to play a ton in that Miami game just because the experience.
You can do that in one game though.
Yes.
Interesting going forward against the Knicks. Against the Knicks is going to be interesting because
Brunson.
Yeah, it's a load. Like he has a lot of volume, and how are we going to match up? Are we going to put Kyle on them? We going to put Maxey on them? Do y'all remember who when we played him those 2 games in New York? Who defended him primarily?
I believe that was his first game he actually played for us was the game he got hit in the face. That was his first game against the Knicks.
No, I'm saying when we played him when we played those back-to-back games when we scored 70 points. Who guarded Brunson?
I don't remember anymore. I think it was like a collective effort, but
who started on them rather, not who guarded. Who started on them?
I believe the game 2 against the Knicks that we played this year. That was Lowry's first game. He played Brunson that game. The next 2 games, I don't know if he guarded him after that.
Yeah, I can't find it. I don't remember anymore.
Got it.
But who started? Maxey, the first one, or the one I'm looking at, the 110-96. Yeah, we started Buddy and Maxey in that game. So I'm guessing between those two. They're also, it's funny, they're not afraid to put Batum out there on an island with some of those guards either, man. Like they did with Hero. And they throw him out there. They put him on an island with some guys. So you might see Batum on him a little bit too, just because of his length. Yeah, they're probably just going to try different things and see what sticks the best. But yeah, I'd expect to see Kyle on him a little bit, Batum switching on him a little bit. The other 2 games, look at those real fast. The low 70s game, that was a weird little roster we had that day. That was Payne and Lowry started that backcourt.
Wow.
So
yeah, I remember Maxey didn't play that game.
Yeah. So Payne was on him probably a fair amount.
Yeah, Campbell.
And then Lowry and Maxey, the next one, where they just blew us out the next game. How did he do? They did pretty. I'll tell you what, the Payne Lowry duo did pretty good on Brunson. Brunson was 6 for 22 that game.
I mean, it was only 70 points each team.
Yeah, you're right. You couldn't have a great game. 19's actually pretty good for 73, right?
Yeah.
But 6 for 22, I mean, that's pretty rough. But no one could hit anything that game. That game was dreadful. So
we'll get into that a little bit more as we talk about the Knicks. But do you think we'll see a game like that in the series?
I wouldn't be surprised you get a game like that. I would expect the games to be in the 90s. If they hit 100, maybe one team, or if both teams is lower hundreds. I expect that type of grinded. If you don't have a clean, fast break, slow it up. Take time, change the ball from side to side, try to attack the paint, try to get guys in foul trouble, try to get to the line.
Did you
limit possessions? I believe that they feel the fewer possessions, the better for them.
Did you see that stat that I think Windhorst talked about recently, that Brunson dribbled more than the next most dribbled player by like hundreds of dribbles?
I could believe that.
Interesting. But I think he said he might have said 300 to 500. So he dribbled like a lot more than the next player. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, he's the positionless basketball that they have now. A lot of teams let anybody bring the ball down the court. The Knicks don't. So you'll have. That being said, I still think Luka has the ball, dominates the ball more, even though he doesn't take as many dribbles.
Mm-hmm.